2, 3, 1, go. Welcome to March. So it's kind of a weird feeling because I feel like I haven't got over last March, and now we're already in March again. I know a lot of people feel this way because I've seen the memes on Twitter. Do people running and one person's a little bit ahead? And it's like me not over last March, and the one behind it coming up is this March. And it's just like a lot went on in 2020 and a lot's still going on in 2021. So hopefully we don't get overlit. I think if I don't do this now today, it's not going to happen today because I don't want to do anything mood. And I mean, nothing. And we've already been to town and back, and I'm just like, I don't want to film, but I'm gonna, because it's gonna be March 1st. So March 1st, what we got going on in March? So after, I feel like the past 2 years of retrogrades have been really intense with retrogrades happening all the time and multiple retrogrades going at the same time. And this year it's we started out with Uranus in retrograde, which went away pretty soon. Then first Mercury retrograde, which, it's 3 to 4 times a year. Just deal with it. It's not like the world's ending. It's okay. Things get a little weird. You just deal with it. The more you bring disaster scenario into the Mercury retrograde, the more it's going to be a disaster, so don't do it. But, it's 3 to 4 times a year. It's our most frequent retrograde. That's why we know about it. But that's over. That ended in February. Started at the end of January. Did about mid-ish. Yeah, mid-ish. February, so that's over. We have no retrogrades. There are currently no retrogrades. So enjoy this. Enjoy it. Other things may be going on up there, but retrogrades, nada. So we had new moon in Pisces, or TIE Fighter as I tend to think of it, and I think is that Virgo, or is that is Virgo. I tend to make Virgos and Scorpios into the same thing. Moon enters at 1:20. Okay, so pretty much. Just reading things. Yeah, so it'll be in Virgo. All right, so we got new moon and TIE Fighters. By that, Pisces. Yes, TIE Fighters, Pisces. Sometimes I get a little confused over the symbology. But so, Pisces, extremely emotional, creative, intuition, dreams. Just kind of let that watery aspect play out. There's a lot that's happened. There's a lot still going on. Emotions are going to be big. Then you got that nice little full moon in Virgo, which I feel like probably is going to balance out that new moon in Pisces, where we're all like, watery, watery, watery. And our little inner Virgos can come out and create perfection. And perfection is described by how you want your perfection, not by some other person's definition of perfection. So, example, my desk. Even when it's clean, it's a pretty messy thing. All my art supplies are out and handy, like my pencils, my paintbrushes, pens, the woodies, everything like that. My ink tents, Derwents, stick form, lots of things are out all the time. My little box of Caran d'Ache, all these things that I use frequently, along with writing utensils and scissors. And I see these desks that are perfectly pristine with nothing on them, and it's except like a computer and some flowers. I'm like, what do you write with? What do you take notes with? Where is that? There's nothing for you to choose from for writing utensils. Where are your favorite pencils and your favorite pens? It kind of gives me a panic attack seeing nothing on someone's desk. I'm like, but my desk at the same time, I know, freaks people out because there's so much going on, and that's when it's clean. So, see, what's your definition of that perfect desk? Think of it that way. We're not going by what other people are interested in. And, if you really need to get it sorted out this month, feel free to use the link to the website and book a reading. But let's get into the cards. So, oops, wrong deck. I just want to use the new cards. I went for the Tarot deck, which is a new deck, and I'm really loving it. So this month we are using Vintage Wisdom Oracle and the 8th House Tarot. I am really loving this deck. It's definitely going to be a lot of use for myself personally and for clients, which is nice. So let's pick a card. Strength. So our close that up. Box on the floor. So our guide card for March is Strength. There you go. So where do you need to have some strength? And also, and it says star in there. That's cute. That's interesting. Okay, so looking at these. So strength and star. This is a star right up there. So it feels like there's two ways the strength can go. And one way is not going to feel so good. I have too much light. One is strength in a very rigid form. This is what strong is. This is strong and tough and overly solid, like an oak tree in the wind, in an extreme wind, and then it falls over. That's what we're talking about. It's too rigid, it's too strong, it's too tough, it can't bend, it cannot change, it doesn't want to change, it's very resistant to everything. So you got that form of strength, and that one's going to feel really like, oh god, this hurts. It's not going to be a fun strength. You want to avoid that strength. And the other is the more resilient strength. And anytime anyone starts throwing the word resiliency around, that means you've pretty much been through something, and you've learned how to cope with it. Basically, resiliency is creating coping skills for issues and traumas and problems that aren't going to go away. So you want that more resilient one, the one that's more malleable and mutable, a little more marshmallowy. Marshmallows, you squish them down, they pop back up. And they're also tasty. But you want that kind of thing. You want some resilience in there. You want some give. It's like watching the pine trees. We had really windy days here a while back. And they just go. I mean, they're swaying by quite a bit. And it's hard to tell because, they're so big how much they're actually really swaying in the distance. So you got a choice with strength. You can, excuse me, create something really rigid and non-malleable that's just going to get knocked down, be very difficult to work with, or you can be a little bit more resilient, mutable, and enjoy that process. And I think the Pisces energy with the new moon is really going to help with that soft marshmallow strength energy of creating some kind of resilient softness to your coping skills. And if your coping skills are kind of feeling a little like they're not working so well anymore, you're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that they're like, I'm all coped out. I ran out of skills. I have nothing left to cope with. I have used them all up and everything's just depleted. So if you're feeling that way, no, you're not alone. There's a lot of other people have the same feeling going out there. There's a lot of other people going out there. Oh my God, I haven't even recovered from last March. How can it be a new March? It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to deal with. When you're still in active trauma, healing doesn't start. No matter how much we want that healing to start coming in. Healing doesn't start until the trauma's over. And we don't know when that trauma is going to be over. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's trauma upon trauma. It's the trauma before the Trump era. It's the trauma of the Trump era. It's the trauma of the Rona era. It's the trauma of ongoing racism, misogyny, and homophobia, and transphobia, and You can't heal until we come out of those parameters, until they end. Then healing can start. You know, you can skills, resiliency, and even aspects of it may start healing. Even when you are within, you know, it's, yeah, I must say there are aspects that can heal. I think it takes it slower than if you're not in active trauma. So yeah, there's a lot going on. So let's pull 2 cards. And this is the 8th House Tarot. This is a new deck to me. I gotta say, I really love it. I've been using it for personal pulls. Come on. And really enjoy it. Okay, so let us, got 2 cards. So both are fire. So 2 of fire, and since this is she calls it an astrological tarot, it has little notations too, like, so 2 of fire, Mars and Aries. So we got a lot of fire here going on, and kind of, I like how there's these matches, and they're lit, one's not lit. There's a hand, there's a map. So Mars and Aries. Yeah, Mars, Aries aren't really, Mars is just the Roman god of war, and Aries is just the Greek god of war. So really, what are you going to war at? What's gonna get in your rant on? And are you having a good rollicking rant, or are you just having one that's making you upset? Kind of check that rant energy and see which one you're going into. Are you having a good rant where it's like rollicking good and you're getting your frustration out? Or are you just yelling at the TV yet again and not getting any release of the frustrations? That's the kind of thing we're looking at here. Where are you, like, it's like you're just kind of beating your head against that wall, bam, 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 over and over again, and you can't get rid of it. I understand. I get a bit ranty. I get more than a bit ranty. And some days it's like a good kind of ranty, and some days I'm just ranting at the TV, and yeah, nothing's changing. So pay attention to that. How is that showing up? And you might be ranting at someone over something they did too, not just something in the collective energy. Really pay attention to this too. If you find that your Mars in Aries is doing a little ranting at the people close in your life, and unhappy ranting, focused on them, not like a collective or a general thing. That's where it gets kind of not so good. If you're really going at someone else in a ranty mode because you're displacing your trauma, you're displacing anger or whatever, then you really want to pay attention to that. But otherwise, you know, if you kind of let it out, let that steam go, and look for constructive ways. You know, you got that new one in Pisces to really use some emotions and intuitions and dreams and creativity. Pisces, I've always known, have been very creative people. So bring in that kind of watery energy. You might get some steam and you might get something done instead of just ranting. Or you might just not. Maybe you just steam out and are able to chill out, which is also going to be a good thing. So next card is also fire, which is the Knight of Fire, which is the basically knights are air, and well, this is wands, so it's fire. So you got a fuel there. Air fuels fire. And so we already have this Mars and Aries energy with the 2 of fire, ranting kind of stuff going on. And then we got this kind of steam energy zooming on in underneath it all that can fuel it. You really want to watch your fire this month, this March. Watch that fire and the destructive negative ways the fire shows in, such as non-constructive anger, displacement, setting out to hurt someone just because you're in a bad mood or something like that. You know, that kind of thing, that kind of fire. Not creative fire where you are looking at ways to channel your anger into healthy ways, whether it's calling your elected officials all the time, creating art, reading, exercise, however you deal with your fiery aspects. I tend to use exercise a lot to deal with the fire. It grounds me out. It keeps me from being somewhere else. Not a grounded, naturally grounded person. I have to expend a large amount of energy to get that grounding. So, and get the brain to maybe stop thinking for half a freaking second. So look at how you cope with your fire. Because one thing too, like with the nights and the ranting aspect of the Two of Fire, what can happen with that is the Knight of Fire can be very... The only person quicker to snap judgment than him is the Knight of Air, the Knight of Swords. And so you really want to watch that snap judgment of anger just flying out the bat. This feels like that Pisces water can really balance us out, and that Virgo moon with the earthiness can really ground us out. We want to look at how we can use those two moons this month with our fire, with kind of our ranting of how we feel about the collective, and watch out for displacing that on your loved ones. Don't go after your beloveds. Pay attention to that, because the Knight of Fire is reminding us we need to really kind of just not blow everything up, not use the air to fuel all that fire into a combustible rage or whatever's going to blow up. We don't want that. We don't want the blow up. We want to remain conscious. We want to use that Pisces, water dreams, intuition and creativity to work our way through that Two of Fire, Mars and Aries, war god, and war god. Then we got another fire card with the Knight of Fire and fire and air, combusting into flames. So how can you use this constructively? How can you ground it out? What coping mechanisms help you work with fire is where you want to look. So yeah, kind of an intense month. Not a fiery, intense month where we really just want to watch out for that kind of stuff, because blowing it up is not really where you want to go, man. It's just, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe it is. If you do blow it up, make sure it's a conscious blow up, and one that's going to be a creative one, and start something new. Because sometimes you just gotta like, I'm done with it. I'm done, and it's over, and you move on. But you can't get stuck in the ranty part of it. So, I Am Brave is our... I'm trying to find the least amount of line right here. I am brave. So you got the bravery in you. We got strength. Let's do a little recap here, because we got that strength where we can go rigid and stockish, or we can be malleable like our little marshmallow selves and resilient and use our coping mechanisms to the best of our ability, because we got Two of Fire, Mars in Aries, and it just means we got a lot of warlike energy, we got a lot of fire energy in us, and we're ready to rant and rave all day long. Meanwhile, we got the Knight of Fire, which is fire and air, which is making us even more combustible, which means we need to find ways to ground out that fire, coupled with Newman and Pisces creativity. James' intuition can be key with that whole watery aspect, and then the earthy Virgo helping to ground out that Knight of Fire. And knowing that we got the courage, we got the bravery within us to handle all of that and do it semi-effectively, or at least say to someone, I'm not coping effectively today. It's a whole nother form of bravery. And so just so you know, I'm not coping well today. And a lot of times being able to say that to someone's like, I'm not doing so good today, just so you know. And whether it's anger or sadness or whatever, you know, spaciness, letting them know what's going on. So, okay, everyone. Whew. Welcome to March, and I hope you have a great one. I hope it's better than last year's March. I think it's just going to be weird and different in a different way. But, you know, keep our fingers crossed and hope for the best. Go out there and be the love in the world, and have a wonderful, wonderful day and month. Bye-bye.